For 500 years, the Islamic world was the undisputed center of human knowledge. Muslim scientists invented algebra, pioneered medicine, mapped the stars, and preserved the wisdom of ancient civilizations. From Baghdad to Cordoba, Islamic cities were beacons of learning while Europe stumbled through the Dark Ages. Then, it all came crashing down. By the 1500s, the Golden Age was over. Islamic science stagnated while Europe exploded into the Renaissance and scientific revolution. What happened? How did the civilization that gave the world algorithms and universities fall so far behind? This is the tragic story of that downfall. February 10th, 1258. The Mongol army, led by Hulagu Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan, breached the walls of Baghdad. What followed was one of history's greatest catastrophes for human knowledge. The Mongols massacred anywhere from 200,000 to 1 million people in just 1 week. But the destruction of human life wasn't the only tragedy. The House of Wisdom, the greatest library since Alexandria, was completely destroyed. Scholars were slaughtered. Thousands upon thousands of irreplaceable manuscripts were thrown into the Tigris River. Historical accounts say the river ran black with ink for days. Centuries of accumulated knowledge, Greek philosophy, Persian science, Indian mathematics, and original Islamic research, all gone in a week. Baghdad wasn't alone. Across Central Asia and Persia, the Mongols systematically destroyed centers of Islamic learning. Samarkand, Bukhara, Nishapur, each a jewel of scholarship, each reduced to rubble. The intellectual infrastructure of the Islamic world, built over 5 centuries, collapsed in a matter of decades. The Mongol invasions were to Islamic science what burning the Library of Alexandria was to the ancient world, but multiplied across dozens of cities. It was an intellectual apocalypse. But the Mongols weren't the only reason. Even before their invasions, something was changing within Islamic intellectual culture. Around the 11th and 12th centuries, influential religious scholars began promoting what's called the closing of the gate of Ijtihad, independent reasoning in Islamic law. The philosopher Al-Ghazali, brilliant but deeply conservative, wrote The Incoherence of the Philosophers, attacking rationalist Islamic thinkers like Ibn Sina. He argued that the pursuit of Greek philosophy and natural science led Muslims away from true faith. His influence was enormous. Gradually, the idea took hold that all important questions had already been answered by earlier scholars. Innovation became suspect. Conformity became a virtue. Oh wow. This shift was devastating for science. Science requires questioning, experimentation, and challenging existing knowledge. But the intellectual culture increasingly emphasized memorization and commentary on old texts rather than original research. The spirit of inquiry that built the Golden Age, the same spirit the Quran had encouraged, was being stifled by religious conservatism. To be clear, Islam itself didn't inherently oppose science. The early Golden Age proved that. But certain interpretations of Islam, rigid, anti-rationalist, and fearful of innovation, became dominant. Scholars who asked too many questions risked accusations of heresy. The punishment: social ostracism, loss of patronage, and sometimes even death. When asking questions becomes dangerous, science dies. Then came the third blow: political and economic collapse. The Islamic world fragmented into competing sultanates, kingdoms, and tribal territories. The unified Abbasid Caliphate that once coordinated knowledge across continents shattered into squabbling rivals. Without centralized patronage, scientific institutions withered. Then came the age of exploration. When Europeans discovered sea routes to India and China around Africa in the late 1400s, they bypassed Middle Eastern middlemen entirely. The lucrative trade that had funded Islamic prosperity for centuries dried up. Economic decline meant less money for observatories, libraries, and scholars. Science is expensive, Without funding, it stops. The Ottoman Empire, while militarily powerful, became intellectually stagnant. The printing press, invented in Europe in 1440, was banned in the Ottoman Empire until 1727, nearly 3 centuries later. Why? Religious authorities feared it would spread heresy and undermine the traditional scholars who hand-copied manuscripts. While Europe printed books by the millions, accelerating the transfer of knowledge, the Islamic world stuck with hand-copying. The information gap became unbridgeable. While the Islamic world declined, Europe awakened. Ironically, Europe's Renaissance was partially sparked by Islamic knowledge. When Christian kingdoms reconquered Spain, they discovered vast Arabic libraries. European scholars eagerly translated Arabic texts, which themselves had preserved Greek, Persian, and Indian knowledge, back into Latin. But Europeans didn't just translate, they built upon this foundation. They asked new questions, challenged old assumptions, and developed the scientific method. By the 1600s, Europe's scientific revolution was in full swing. Copernicus revolutionizing astronomy, Galileo perfecting the telescope, Newton discovering the laws of motion and gravity. Meanwhile, Islamic scientific output had virtually ceased. The numbers tell the story. By 1800, Europe had hundreds of universities, millions of printed books, and scientific societies exchanging discoveries across borders. The Islamic world had a handful of traditional religious schools teaching medieval curricula. The civilization that invented the university was now centuries behind in education. The 19th and early 20th centuries brought the final humiliation: colonialism. Britain, France, Italy, and Russia conquered most of the Islamic world. Egypt, India, Indonesia, Algeria, Iraq all fell under European control. The civilization that once ruled from Spain to Central Asia was now ruled by the civilization it had once taught. Colonial powers deliberately dismantled indigenous education systems. European languages replaced Arabic and Persian as the languages of science and administration. The best Muslim students went to European universities, creating a brain drain. Traditional Islamic scholarship, already weakened, was further marginalized. Science became associated with Western imperialism, creating cultural resistance that persists to this day. After World War I, when colonial powers finally retreated, they left behind artificial borders, weak institutions, and deep resentment. The independent nations that emerged were shadows of the great Islamic empires. Most lacked the political stability, economic resources, or educational infrastructure to revive their scientific traditions. Today, the numbers are sobering. The entire Muslim world, with 1.8 billion people, nearly a quarter of humanity, produces fewer scientific publications than small countries like South Korea. Only 3 Muslims have won Nobel Prizes in science, compared to over 200 Jews. The 57 Muslim-majority countries combined spend less on research and development than tiny Israel. There are bright spots. Qatar and the UAE are investing heavily in education. Turkey and Iran are producing research, and grassroots science movements are appearing in Pakistan and Egypt. But these are the exceptions. For most of the Islamic world, scientific output remains minimal. The civilization that gave humanity the scientific method itself largely abandoned it. The tragedy is that nothing in Islamic theology inherently opposes science. The Quran contains over 750 verses encouraging observation and reflection on nature. Early Muslims understood this. They saw science as a way of understanding God's creation. That spirit could return, but it requires confronting the uncomfortable historical truths about why it was lost. So what doomed the Islamic Golden Age? It wasn't one single factor, but a perfect storm. The Mongol destruction erased centuries of accumulated knowledge. Intellectual rigidity replaced the spirit of inquiry. Political fragmentation ended coordinated patronage. Economic decline dried up funding. Europe leapfrogged ahead, and colonialism delivered the final blow. The lessons here transcend the Islamic world. Any civilization that stops asking questions, that fears innovation, that prioritizes conformity over creativity, and that allows economic and political chaos to fester, will decline scientifically. Rome fell. Greece faded. Islamic civilization stagnated. No one is immune, but history isn't destiny. The Islamic Golden Age proved that Muslim societies can lead the world in science. What was achieved once can be achieved again if the lessons of the downfall are learned, if questioning is encouraged, if knowledge is valued over ideology, and if investment flows to education and research. The story of the Islamic Golden Age isn't just about the past, it's a warning and an inspiration for the future. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more deep dives into history.